Hello, everybody. Happy Monday. It's a new week, and we abandon our traumas from last week's Clues by Sam, or we acquire some new ones because today we are gonna play the bonus hardest puzzle from the newsletter that we get every Monday on our email. So I'm gonna play the easy one first, but if you don't know what Clues by Sam is, it is a great day to start because this is the easiest it gets, and I'm gonna explain my logic as I play so I can help you with the mechanics, and then I'm gonna play the hardest one so we can all see me hopefully not fail together. And the game works like so. There are 20 people on a board, and each of them might give you a clue to help you figure out who among them are criminals and who among them are innocents, and there is no guessing involved. So there is a link in the description for you to play if you want to do. And I'm going to start mine right now with Gary telling us that both innocents below Claire are connected. So Gary is an innocent below Claire, which means the second innocent is Larry, connected to Gary, and the other two people are criminals because both means two. Ruth now says that her and Vicky barely know each other. Where's Vicky? Oh, okay. It's like having a class diagram and you're sitting with somebody you don't know. Now, Vicky says that two of Salil's neighbors are in row 5 and innocents. And Vicky is one of Salil's neighbors in row 5, but she's not an innocent, so the other two have to be. And we don't need her clue anymore. Now, Zane says that column B is the only column with exactly 3 innocents. So we need the third innocent in column B. There's only one person left, that's Claire. And I guess I'm going to leave Zane's clue here because it says that column B is the only column. So when we're looking at other columns, it's nice to have this clue to remind us of that. Claire says that exactly one painter has an innocent directly to the right of them. So where are the painters? All painters are here on the same row. One of them has an innocent to their right. It's not Petra for sure because she already has a criminal to her right. It could be Tina, but Tina doesn't have anybody to her right. So it has to be Salil, the painter who has an innocent to their right, which means that Tina is an innocent. And I guess we don't need Claire's anymore. Tina says that only one of the two innocents above Uma is Ruth's neighbor. So Ruth has two people above Uma neighboring her, but only one of them is an innocent, which means the other one is a criminal, so they are opposites. And there's 2 innocents total above Uma. So the second one is going to be either Frank or Anna, right? So one of the 2 innocents above Uma. There's 4 people above Uma, which means that if 2 of them are innocents, then there's 2 criminals. And if only one of them neighbor Ruth, then of the people that don't neighbor Ruth above Uma, there has to be only 1 innocent. Now, we also know that column B is the only column with 3 innocents, so if Uma, the only person left in column A, that's not above Uma because it's Uma herself, were to be an innocent, then column A would have 3 innocents, which can't happen, so we know that Uma is a criminal. Now, we don't need Tina's clue, but Uma says that an odd number of innocents in column A neighbor Gary. So Gary is 2 cards away from Ruth and has 3 people neighboring him in column A, and not a number of them are innocents. If we know that either Frank or Anna, who neighbor Gary in column A, are gonna be an innocent, that means that John, the third person that neighbors Gary in that column, couldn't be an innocent as well because that will make 2 innocents neighboring Gary, and that's an even number, so we need John to be a criminal, and that tells us that Petra is an innocent. And now we don't need Uma's clue. Now Petra says there's only 1 innocent below Hazel, so that's Xavi, who is below Hazel and is already an innocent, which makes us sure that Mark and Salil are both criminals, and we don't need Petra's clue anymore. Mark now says there's an odd number of innocent teachers. So there's 3 teachers total. One of them is already an innocent. One of them is already a criminal, which means that if the third one were to be an innocent, there will be an even number of innocent teachers. So that makes Olive a criminal. And we don't need Mark's clue anymore. Olive now says that each column has at least 2 criminals. So that makes column D need a second criminal. But there's 2 people left. If these people had only one criminal among them, let's say that Igor is a criminal and Evie is an innocent. Now we have 3 innocents in column D, and we know that column B is the only one with 3 innocents. So we know for sure that both people in column D are criminals, so that we can abide by both clues. And every other column already has 2 criminals, so I can dismiss Olives. Igor now says there are exactly 3 criminals below David, so we need a 3rd criminal below David, and there's only Hazel left. And now Hazel says there's an odd number of innocents on the edges. So how many innocents do we have already on the edges? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we're going to have a 6th one who's neighboring Gary, either Anna or Frank. So 6 is an even number, which means that David has to be an innocent as well to make 7. We don't need Hazel's clue. David now says there's an equal number of criminals in rows 1 and 5. And we know there's 2 criminals in row 5, so we need a 2nd one in row 1, and there's only Anna left. So that means that she's a criminal, which makes Frank an innocent. We are done the easy puzzle. 5:05. Very nice. I like when the time does that. I've said that before. But that was just the easy one. And I did make a little effort to kind of explain the mechanics a little better. So if you have any questions, let me know. And let's jump into the evil one. So this is the evil one for today, April 27th. And I'm afraid. I'm simply afraid. But we are gonna restart the timer here and look at Nancy's clue. Both criminals below David are connected. Okay, so Nancy is an innocent and she's below David. So, if Ivan, who is above her and also below David, were to be a criminal, then she would be separating the criminals below David. It doesn't matter who is a criminal below her. So, in order for there to be 2 criminals below David and both of them to be connected, then both Steve and Ziad have to be connected. And since both means 2, then Ivan is an innocent. And we get everybody below David already. Now Ivan says that both innocents in row 4 are connected. So we know that Kita has to be one of those innocents because there's 3 people left in row 4. One of them has to be the innocent that connects to the others, right? Let's say that Kita were a criminal. She would be separating Phil and Ruth, who are both innocents. So she has to be one of the innocents, and the second innocent is either going to be Phil or Ruth. Now, Steve says that 2 criminals in column B have an innocent directly to the right of them. So that's a lot. And we don't know how many people are criminals in column B yet, so let's leave that for later. Ziad says that exactly 1 innocent in row 2 is neighboring Kevin. So Kevin has 2 people neighboring him in row 2, Esha and Flora. One of them has to be an innocent, the other one is going to be a criminal then. Kita says that Ben is one of Hope's 2 criminal neighbors. So we have Ben as a criminal, and Hope has only 2 criminal neighbors neighboring her. Ben says that Tyler is one of Kita's 5 criminal neighbors. So Tyler is a criminal. Kita has a 2nd criminal here in row 5. In row 4 neighboring her, and 3 more. So what do we know? What do we know? There's a lot of information here. Because we know that Kita has 5 criminal neighbors. We know that something about column B, where is it? Column B, 2 criminals in column B have an innocent to the right of them. So let's... Ben is already a criminal, right? And we're talking about column B, who are all people who could neighbor Hope or Kita. We know that Kita is either gonna have... Oh, but Kita is not a criminal, so that doesn't really matter. Kita has 5 criminal neighbors total. So let's say, and Hope has how many? 6. Hope has 2 criminal neighbors and Kita has 5 criminal neighbors. So we know for sure that Hope couldn't have both Linda and Martin be criminals. Because Hope already has a criminal neighbor in her here. And that will make she have more criminal neighbors than she should. She only has 2. Now, if both of them are innocents, can Kita still have 5 criminal neighbors? She can. If everybody else is a criminal. In that situation, is there a way we can have 2 criminals in column B have an innocent to the right of them? One that is a criminal in column B, but she doesn't have an innocent to her right. Keith is not a criminal. Linda is not a criminal. Ben would have to have an innocent to his right. And Flora would have to be a criminal and have an innocent to her right. So that works. Is there something implicated in Linda and Martin being opposites? And do I have a way to prove that? I guess, can we look at Ben and see if Cheryl can ever be a criminal? Because if Cheryl is a criminal, that makes Hope have her 2 innocent, her 2 criminal neighbors. So that will make everybody else, the neighbors, Hope an innocent, including Linda and Martin. And that will make Kevin, Wanda, and Xavier criminals again, because Kita needs 5 criminals. Now, is there a way for column B to have 2 criminals with innocents to their right? No, there isn't. There's only Flora who could have an innocent to her right and be a criminal, if Cheryl is a criminal. So we know for sure that Cheryl is an innocent. I hope that made sense in my explanation. Now, who do we look at next? Because we know that if Wanda and Xavier, if Wanda was one of the criminals, do we know that? I don't know if we know that. We suppose that if Wanda was a criminal with Xavier as an innocent to her right, that will make these guys opposites, because they couldn't both be criminals. So Kevin will be a criminal with opposites here. So what that makes me think is, could Kevin be an innocent? Because if Kevin is an innocent, and we know that we can't have both of these guys be criminals, then both of these guys would have to be criminals, so that Kita can have her 3 criminal neighbors that she needs. If we made then Linda an innocent and Martin a criminal, then of course there's no way for 2 criminals. Well, there is. There is if Flora is a criminal and Hope is an innocent. Then there's 2 criminals in column B with innocents to the right. Also, there's a very complicated clue. I like it. Now, so there is a way for Kevin to be an innocent. Is there a way, or have I already proved that this could be, Xavier could be an innocent with Wanda being a criminal? Same scenario as before, Kevin would have to be a criminal, and then it wouldn't matter what Linda and Martin are. So do we know if both of these guys are innocents now, Linda and Martin, and everybody else is a criminal neighbor in Kita? That will make Flora and Hope work like that. And that's Hope's second criminal neighbor and last one. Is there a way for David to ever be a criminal? If David is a criminal, that will make everybody else's neighbor's Hope innocent. And in that case, Wanda would have to be the second criminal with an innocent to her right in column B. And now Kita has more innocents than she should have. There's not enough criminals neighboring her. So no, David couldn't be a criminal. Good. I'm liking my deduction. David now says there are exactly 2 innocents in between Pen and Wanda. Okay, so there's a second innocent here, who's either Flora or Linda. And what does that mean? That neither of them... Or does it mean that one of them is the second? Oh, that means that this is the second criminal neighbor for Hope. Yeah, I was thinking about the criminal with an innocent to their right. But what I'm really sure of is that Hope already has her 2 criminal neighbors. So that makes Martin an innocent. Now, what do we know now? Where do I look to? Because what if Wanda is an innocent now? Could that make sense? I mean, it could if Linda is a criminal. Or if Hope is an innocent. Nah, because if Wanda is an innocent, Linda has to be a criminal, right? So that works. Because there will be only 2, it doesn't matter what Hope is, because there will be only 2 criminals in column B with innocents to their right. So that works. If Wanda were a criminal, could we make Linda an innocent? And then Flora a criminal? Then Linda being an innocent and Flora a criminal would have to make Hope an innocent. Because we couldn't have Xavier being innocent with Linda and Martin being innocents, since that would go beyond what Kita has as innocents neighboring her. So Xavier would have to be a criminal. And Flora would be the second criminal with Hope as an innocent to her right. So can we make... What I'm trying to do here is... Can we make Linda the second criminal with an innocent to her right? And if we do that, we will know for sure that Wanda couldn't be a criminal with an innocent, so Wanda would have to be an innocent. I mean, Kevin could be an innocent as well. So maybe that's not what I have to look at? Tyler is one of Kita's 5 criminal neighbors? Yeah, this is what we're dealing with already. So do we know something about column B? Like, can I try to make Hope a criminal? And if I make Hope a criminal, does that do something for anybody? Or can I then try to make Kevin an innocent and now that's not gonna work? Nah, because I tried that. If Kevin is an innocent, Linda has to be a criminal, and Flora is an innocent. And these two are gonna be criminals, so that works fine. Kevin can be an innocent, that's okay. Could we ever make Xavier an innocent? Have I checked that work? If I make Xavier an innocent, everybody else is a criminal neighboring Kita. So that makes Linda and Wanda both criminals with innocence to their rights. And that goes over what column B should have as criminals with innocence to their rights. So Xavier has to be a criminal. Okay. I like it. I'm taking my time. Xavier says that only one row has exactly 2 innocents. That row is row 4, which we know is going to have a second and last innocent. There's Kita and there's going to be a second one. So that makes row 2 need a third innocent, because so far it has Ivan and it's going to have a second one who's either Esha or Flora. So that makes Hope the third needed innocent. And we also know that we need a third innocent in row 3. At least. Hope says that Martin has 6 innocent neighbors. And so far he has 4. Hope, Ivan, Nancy, and Kita. He's gonna have a 5th, who's either Flora or Linda, because they are opposites. So to make 6, we need Ruth to be an innocent, which makes Phil a criminal. We don't need Hope School anymore. Phil says that Flora has exactly 5 innocent neighbors. So first of all, we know that row 3 needs a third innocent neighbor or innocent person. And it couldn't be that both Kevin and Linda are innocents, because then Kita would have more innocents than she should neighboring her. So they are opposites for sure. If they are opposites, and we know that Flora has 5 innocent neighbors, and so far she has 1, 2, 3 with Cheryl, Hope, and Martin. She's gonna have a 4th one who's either Kevin or Linda. Then the 5th has to be either Esha or Amy. So we know that these two are opposites now. And if Kita has to have a third innocent neighbor here, and last one, we know that Wanda is a criminal. But that doesn't give us a new clue. And since we know that row 1 couldn't end up with only 2 innocents, because row 4 is the only row with 2 innocents, is correct remembering that, right? Who said that? That row 4 is the only row with 2 innocents. Only one row has exactly 2 instances, Xavier, and that row is row 4. So we know that row 1 needs a third instant, and that has to be Amy, which makes Esha a criminal, which makes Flora an innocent, which makes Linda a criminal, which makes Kevin an innocent. Right. Nice chain here. I like it. Okay. So that's an Evo in 17 minutes, and I did take my time and I did make really sure that I wasn't guessing anything and that my scenario made sense. And I tried to explain my logic very thoroughly. I hope you guys understand it. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to leave them in the comments. Sometimes I take some time to answer, but I will answer if it is a question. And I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you tomorrow for more Clues by Sam. So bye bye.